All right, guys, we're back again. COVID Cabal, season 2. What the fuck? I feel like I got something on my face. Season 2, episode 157. What's going on, guys? How you doing? It's been a long week since we last spoke. A lot has happened. A lot has happened. It's one of those weeks that I definitely could have done another show if I had the time to have done it. Definitely could have done another show. But I don't think materially we have missed out on too much. I think a lot of things have been shaken out. We got a plot twist today, which we are absolutely going to check out. I just want to see this real quick, make sure everything's rolling. Yep, we're going. We're rolling. We are rolling. If you guys are here, as always, leave a comment in the chat. If you guys are here, leave a comment in the chat. It's good to see you all here on COVID Cabal. We're doing it a little bit earlier than we typically do it for you guys, at least on the East Coast, because well, I guess it's a little bit later for you. I'm trying to figure this out. It's a little bit later for you guys on the East Coast, and it's a little earlier for me because there's a 3-week period in the spring where apparently in the spring in Europe, they do daylight saving time a few weeks after America does. So I got to prepare for this in the fall. We got 3 weeks in the spring, like a different time, 1 week in the fall, different time. It's all sorted. It's all okay. Only got to go for 2 more weeks with this, and we're solid. What's up, Atish? What's going on, man? David, what's going on, my man? Yeah. So anyway, a little early for here, a little later for you guys. Let's do I think the SAVE Act will pass or will the GOP cuck everyone? This is a great question. I like this question. Let's start off with this question before we go into it. I want to first show you guys a wine that I had last week or got last week when my parents were here. This is a Saint Laurent from Poland. We visited the 2 historic cities in eastern Poland, which is Zamość and Sandomierz. And I'd been to Zamość before last summer, but I had not been to Sandomierz, so it was always it's always great when you have someone visiting because you have a chance to do things that maybe you wouldn't normally do. So there's some vineyards around the Vistula River over here, both around Lublin and further south towards Sandomierz. And they're fine. They're fine for what they are. You know what I mean? Actually, some of the wine that we had was actually quite good. I was surprised about it. This one is just decent. It's just decent. Saint Laurent is a grape. Very typically, it's related to Zweigelt, if you know this, or Blaufränkisch. So it's related to. It's an Austrian grape, typical Austrian grape, red grape, and it's good. It's good structure. It's got a little bit of that funk though that tells you it's not from a primary wine region. So, but I had a good time with my parents. I'll just let you guys know, because you guys on COVID Cabal, you know a little bit more of the personal side of things, and I mean, being over here and it was kind of weird. It's kind of weird not being there, having been there for such a long time. So it was really nice to see him. The cool thing about our building is that on the lower levels, there's some apartments for rents. We could actually have them rented out, own place in our building. So it's just perfect. Kids go down the elevator. They're right there at grandpa's. Probably the way it would have been great to have in America. Have your own space, but still very close. Anyway. But we're back. Robert, you're asking good wine recommendations in France? Like, you got to be kidding me. You just spit on a corner. You got a good wine recommendation. No, but honestly, I don't know where you are in France. It doesn't really matter, I'm sure, because they probably have it from all over. But if you let me know what part of France you're in, I'll give you a regional suggestion just so you can experience that area, because France has the best wine in the world. It's my opinion. It's my opinion, but I'm not the only one with that opinion. France is the only place that you get virtually every single climate zone for growing grapes, every good climate zone for growing grapes, in every different type of soil for growing grapes. It's just in almost every single international varietal, like 80-90% of the international varietals, international varietal being like Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Pinot Noir, anything you see when you go to a restaurant, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, any of those that you see when you go to a restaurant, they are French grapes. So I love Italy. You know what I mean? What am I supposed to say though? What am I supposed to say about that? I think we got to give it to the French. I think we got to give it to the French. All right. So let's get to the questions here. Let's get into the show. Do you think the SAVE Act will pass, or will the GOP cuck everyone? Well, this is what I think. First off, let's ask, why is the GOP not passing the SAVE Act? Because the GOP has, this is actually a really important question, because we know that the GOP is captured, right? We've known this for a while. And yet, why is it that the GOP still, when push came to shove, they got the votes necessary to allow Trump's cabinet, with the exception of Gates, right, to get Trump's cabinet in? I mean, you had some people, you had in particular Hegseth, right? And by the way, I was surprised at the time why they were going so much against Hegseth, because I thought it was going to be other people. I thought maybe it would be Gabbard more. I thought, I was surprised. I was surprised that they went after Hegseth. In hindsight, that was silly. In hindsight, it was silly that I was surprised about Hegseth, because Hegseth is the key to the whole thing, because Hegseth is the military guy. If you transition ultimately, if you ever have to transition to a wartime footing domestically, you have someone like Hegseth running it. You want to have the military under your control. You need somebody in the Secretary of War, which of course at the time it was not that yet. You need the Secretary of War to be respected enough by the rank and file that you can actually implement the reforms. Okay, and I just want to make a digression here. We had a purge of the military. It's still ongoing, right? But we've had a purge of the military under Trump. And this is a counter purge to the big purge that Obama did, back so many years ago. That wasn't the first one, by the way. We had a purge back in the 90s, and that was the beginning of the feminization of the military, where we got rid of a lot of very aggressive fighting commanders on sexual harassment claims. But the big stuff, obviously, that we know about and that was most consequential was under Obama, okay? We were doing a counter purge. Part of the way that Hegseth did this was through fitness, tailhook. Thank you for remembering that. Yeah. I would always think it was like Northwoods, but I know that's a totally different conspiracy rabbit hole. I think that was back in the 60s with the government nuking the public as a false flag. So thank you for this, David. That's correct. Tailhook scandal. Trump is on a counter purge, not as comprehensive as far as I understand, but it seems quite effective. And actually, a lot of it was the fitness standards, right? That was a subtle way to do it, because a lot of these, fat cat 4 stars, 3-4 stars, they were not able to keep up with fitness standards, and so they were out. But Hegseth himself, all these things that you see with Hegseth going out with RFK, pumping iron, doing pull-ups, Hegseth pushing 315 on the bench, that is actually very consequential. It's consequential for the rank and file, and it gives political capital to the reforms in the military. I think that they've run a really tight ship with the military. Okay, so getting back to the main point here, we talk about the SAVE Act. They got Hegseth through. They fought him tooth and nail. He still got through. So why are they fighting the SAVE Act so much more? They got the big, beautiful bill through. Why did these other bills get through, but not the SAVE Act? I'm going to tell you guys why. Because Thune, all these people, they are not, many, not every single one of them. It may not even be as bad as we say, right? It may literally only be, I've always said it's 2/3. maybe in terms of consequential, like corruption, let's say anti-American captured interests, like it may only be that we only have a few really good guys out there, but there may only be 10 dog shit captured senators, like truly captured senators. I'm being generous here, but that's enough. That's enough if they are able to corral the others underneath of them through their own sort of leash, right? Bottom line is this. People like Thune, and there's been some people digging into this, but we've talked about this with the primaries for a long time. The GOP primaries are rigged. It's not just it's not just the Democratic, like it's not just Democrats in the general election. They rigged the primaries too. Now the left rigged their own primaries back in 2016 against Bernie, right? But the Republican Party rigs their own primaries. So you pass the SAVE Act, you start to get, elections that are protected and secured. You might have a problem. You might have a problem on your hand if you're one of these senators that nobody likes and nobody understands how they keep getting elected. So this is why I don't think they are going to pass the SAVE Act. And you can see right now as we speak, from what I understand, Thune, notwithstanding all of the immense pressure being put on, they are going to hold, I think, a cloture vote, which is basically we're going to vote on whether the end of the debate. And if they vote to end of the debate, that means the bill failed, right? But it's not actually a vote on the bill. He won't bring the bill to an actual vote. He also won't bring a talking filibuster. I mean, look, I'm okay as long as this stuff gets done. But I've been saying for a long time the filibuster is dog shit. I mean, I've been saying this for years. In the wilderness, like the filibuster is not constitutional. As it's being implemented, I think it's a rule, so it's constitutional in the sense that the Senate can make the rules. As it's applied right now, I actually think you could reasonably interpret it as abrogating the Constitution, because they use it as a means. They use it as a means to avoid having to actually allow 51 vote majority, which is what the Constitution says, right? And this is all by design. They use the filibuster. By the way, the House used to have a filibuster. They got rid of it a long time ago. About 100 years ago, they got rid of it. I don't have a problem with the talking filibuster, but you can't use it procedurally. But they do this like everything else. What's the issue? What's happened to the constitutional republic? What's happened to the constitutional republic is that Congress doesn't pass laws. They don't do that, not just for personal enrichment, but to make the system not function, so the bureaucracy would have to do things. And then you give more power to the courts and the bureaucracy because Congress won't legislate. If you actually had, and this is one of the things, and I think we're on this fork in the road, and I do think the midterms are going to be a fork in the road, that if Trump cannot get elections really secured and cannot get the legislative, election process cleaned up so we have a real legitimate legislature, if he can't do that, then the United States the republic will fail, because we're going to get to a point where the only thing that actually functions is the executive branch. That's what we see right now. Trump is having to do everything by executive branch because the other two branches are compromised. And he's using his power very effectively. But Congress, if it was actually functioning as a body, would be able to exert a lot more power in things. And one of the big gripes that the Supreme Court has, the Supreme Court should not be involved this much. Congress should be passing laws vis-a-vis the president. But is this the way it is anymore? This is a bigger political discussion about the nature of things. I would just give you a little spoiler. When I was in prison, I wrote a lot about I wrote a piece on the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers, and I my contention was that we got to go back, right? Um, that what FDR did, he broke the structure of the United States. I mean, what I basically said, that there was multiple different structures, from the Articles of Confederation to the Constitution to the Constitution's interpretation post Civil War with the 14th Amendment, Reconstruction Amendments, and then the next one with FDR when it came to um, changing of election of senators to the state, from the state legislatures to direct election, right? Which, to be fair, that was debated. Madison preferred that from the very beginning. So it's not like that came out of left field. But the timing of it's very coincidental, that it coincided with, income tax and Federal Reserve, right? All this stuff happened in 1913. So what is my big point here? Big point is that the structure of the United States changed from Wilson to FDR. Federal government got massively more powerful, but so did the bureaucracy. So what's Trump doing? And I think that, maybe there's something to be said for the fact that we're on an inexorable trajectory. And you can't go back to like small congressional districts. Like, I'm actually at the point, I've gone from being like, we need to expand the House dramatically so that every district has a representative. And now I'm thinking about it and I'm like, you know what? I'm actually more persuaded by the arguments made by Madison earlier, but also with the direct election of senators, which is that it made sense in the past for the state legislatures to make decisions because the public couldn't get information fast enough. So the legislatures had to make these decisions. And yes, it was reflective of the states themselves, right? The states had rights within the republic, whereas the 16th Amendment, I think, changed that so that now, or 17th, I always mix them up, right? Because they were passed the same time. But now what you have is direct elections, so the state legislatures are cut out. The states are cut out, so the states no longer have a say, which is not how the Constitution was initially meant to be. So I get that. But I also get the argument that they said that you should have direct election of senators because information now through newspapers were moving fast enough. The public had a say in what was going on, so you don't need the legislatures to do this anymore. And that, the legislatures were corrupt. So this is a way of dealing with the corruption. Now, of course, if you control the media, you can make, the legislature is corrupt, but we're going to manipulate the public in a different way. They always got different levels to their game. But I look at it now, and I look at, first off, the gerrymandering system is fucked up. It's so fucked up that you have states where you don't have a single Republican vote. And I'm wondering at this point, does it actually make sense to move ultimately to, you expand the House only up until you have the electoral college parity. So like the Wyoming rule, where the House is as big as the smallest state size. So that way you fix any disparities in the electoral college, but then you just have proportional representation. Because do the districts even matter? I mean, I'm being serious about this. I'm not saying that having representation for your state doesn't matter, but even within states now, you see Republicans in the congressional legislature, they will advocate for issues on the right in the state federally. Like in New Jersey, Van Drew, Republican representative for South Jersey, deep South Jersey, right? He was tip of the spear when it came to fighting against the windmills in the state. Okay. That's partly his district because his district is the shore, but It's not only, right? This is against he's talking about a state issue. So this is a whole thing of saying that I think that I think that things are going to go actually more, um, they're going to move another direction. I don't think we're going back. I think we're going forward another iteration. More power to the people, but the legislature is going to have to be much more responsive to less to specific geography. It's going to be interesting to see. But when it comes to the Save Act, I think they're gonna fight it. They're gonna fight it. But I think Trump's got a win-win on his hands because it's how Trump always operates. It's how he always operates. And I'm going to be honest here. I know people are talking about Trump's going to lose the midterms, blah, blah, blah. Guys, it's March. It's fucking March, okay? The real primaries haven't even happened yet. We've had the preliminary primaries. The real primaries are in June. I just don't have time for the panic and stuff. I'm not saying that obviously you are not a panic and type asset, but I know it's not even your question. But I'm just saying the entire narrative around the midterms is gay and retarded. It is. And I don't think we're going to lose the midterms. I think we're going to wipe them out. And the reason I think that is because I see Trump setting up a win, like heads I win, tails you lose scenario. If Congress passes the SAVE Act, Trump wins. He gets voter ID. If Congress doesn't pass the SAVE Act, well, guess what? Let me show you it right now. Let me show you right now. The FBI is investigating the 2020 election fraud. Okay? No, not that one. Let me go next. This one. Is this it? It's all going to come out. We're just in the build up to the reveal. In related news, John Solomon reported yesterday that DNI Gabbard will declassify information in 9 days, which I think is the 20th, based on when this was written. We'll see. That proves there was foreign interference in the 2020 election. Add in what's happening in Fulton County, Georgia, Maricopa County, Arizona. It's fairly clear that we're close. Let's not forget about Maduro, who is rumored to have cut a deal regarding Venezuela's part in election fraud via Smartmatic, including him naming politicians who benefited. And let's not forget all this is happening just as the Save America Act needed to secure our elections has really come to the forefront. Is it just happenstance that all this is occurring in unison with the November election looming on the horizon? No, it's not coincidence. It's not coincidence. It's not coincidence, okay? This is part of the plan. So Congress, like, I want you to read this at the bottom. This was highlighted. Democrats refuse to vote for voter ID or citizenship. The reason is very simple. They want to continue to cheat in elections. This was not what our founders desired. I have searched for the depths of legal arguments not yet articulated or vetted on the subject and will be presenting an irrefutable one in the very near future. There will be voter ID for the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not. Okay, look. What is going to happen if we're indicting people for systemic election fraud? Congress won't pass voter ID for SAVE Act. It's checkmate. Trump, look, I've been following the man for a long time, okay? I've been following him since he got on the official political stage. Trump does not put himself in situations where he doesn't have the goods. He doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. If he's saying something and bringing attention to something, he's doing it because he has a checkmate move with it. It's how he operates. And it's how he gets compliance. I said this on X. The only way you beat Trump, you can only beat Trump through being better than him, more moral than him. It's the only way you can do it. The only person, I've only seen two people do it. Putin, I think that Trump in the beginning was thinking that he could he could use his position against Putin. I think Putin is very clear-eyed about what the war means for Russia. And I think his position in the reasons for his commitment are too congruent that Trump can't throw him off of it. And he also has enough deterrence, even though this war is costing Russia a lot. And I think that a lot of my Russia bros are on suicide watch. I watch these channels. Man, they're on fucking suicide watch with this Iran war. They can't handle it because I got to be honest. I didn't realize how powerful America was. I knew that we were more powerful than Russia, but I had bought into a lot of the stuff around, do we not have enough munitions to sustain the conflict? I think that stuff was wrong. There must have been people must have been lying about that because Russia's winning the war, but it's not like it's not crushing it in the war by any stretch of the imagination. It's a costly fight. Putin's obviously not trying to get many casualties, as he's trying to minimize them. But yeah, I think there's a lot of like serious frustration from the Russia bros out there. Copium that Iran is going to humiliate, America. It's not happening, guys. It's not happening at all. So, with all this being said, Putin, but Saxon, Paxton, right? Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton, by preempting that endorsement of Cornyn, I think he really did do this, saying that, hey, I'll drop out of the race if it means Cornyn's a faggot, but I'll drop out if he will actually endorse the SAVE Act. He's a fraud. He can go fuck himself, but I'll do it for the country. That really boxed in Trump politically, actually. It put Trump in a bad position. Only way he did it was by being more honorable. Only way he did it. And Trump doesn't attack people who do that because it's a losing position for him. And by the way, that's how you know Trump isn't really an egoist. Because if Trump was really an egoist, he would double down on those positions. He would double down on the position against Russia because Putin wouldn't give him everything he wanted. He would get pissed off about Paxton. He would do all this stuff. It just tells you who Trump really is and why he does this stuff. He triggers people's ego so he can control them and get them to make mistakes. So yeah, and this is a great comment by David. We have been practicing for these scenarios for the past 30 to 40 years. We have atrophied in serious areas like merchant shipping, escorting, but conventional warfare is something we excel at like no other country. Yeah, and I mean, we're talking about the supply situation, but I don't know, man. I mean, two things. Yes, the amount that Ukraine could use diminished, but Ukraine still always had ammunition. They maybe had less than Russia, but they've always had ammunition. And it seems to me, I haven't been paying as much attention to the war. I think nobody really has, but drones have become much more of a factor in the war than artillery even since the beginning. So Russia can defend itself against America, but anyway, whatever. This is digressive. The point is that SAVE Act, I don't know if they're going to end up passing in the end. They're trying to bluster on it right now. It doesn't matter because I think they're going to get fucked. Obama's lawyered up. Obama sent billions of dollars to Iran before he left office. They got the Russiagate on him. Newsmax is even talking publicly that we have to arrest Obama. So it's coming. It's just a matter of the timing. And you have to understand that Iran is part of this entire process. The thing that's really interesting to me is about Tucker Carlson. I do want to talk about this. I want to talk about the rumors around Netanyahu's death. Let me talk about those first, okay? We don't know what's happening, in the sense that maybe there's been some weirdness. They had that Besant was giving an interview, and Besant, he had to leave and talk to Trump. He came back, and people were like, Besant was visibly shaken. And then they take this scenario, and then they take an AI video of Netanyahu in rubble and a video of Netanyahu on screen, which they say he has 6 fingers, which he doesn't. Now, I admit the fingers look weird, and I'm not even saying it's not AI, but they're saying Netanyahu, the video of Netanyahu shows Netanyahu has 6 fingers. It's like, it doesn't show he has 6 fingers. So he has 5 fingers. They look weird. It's like weird stuff. You know what I mean? And you see it everywhere. Everywhere. And they're like, Netanyahu's dead. Yair Netanyahu usually posts every 30 minutes. Now, and this is the thing for me. Okay, first off, the people who are posting this stuff are slop retarded fucking people. They have not posted anything accurate in years. Health Ranger, Kim.com, like big fucking morbidly obese piece of shit in New Zealand was like, cool sunglasses. These people are clowns. They're clowns. They have no idea what's going on about anything. Okay? And they're out there posting their slop one after another, one after another. This means Netanyahu's dead. He's dead now. He's dead. I'm not saying that something hasn't happened, that there's a reason that we haven't seen Netanyahu out in public or whatever. But even the premise of what they're claiming makes no sense, because here's the thing. They're claiming Iran killed Netanyahu in a targeted strike. I even saw one thing. They're saying that this Indian journalist, it's just like the most fucking thing. This Indian journalist was trailing Netanyahu, and because he was trailing Netanyahu's dead and Israel's arrested him. I mean, like, I don't even know what the fuck. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You actually fucking buying this stuff? Like, this isn't 2020 anymore. Please develop your discernment. This is fucking retarded. People saying Times of Israel has admitted, Netanyahu is missing. You look, there's no article that even says this. It's like just made up stuff. Okay. So I don't know where Netanyahu is, but the premise that Iran had a targeted strike in Israel on Netanyahu, killed him. Nobody knows about it except for these slot merchants on the internet. And they did this when they can't, when their ability to project power is so limited at this point. Israel has reopened commercial airspace. You understand how fucking stupid? You understand how fucking stupid this is? They're commercial airliners that are flying into the airport in Israel. You realize the only way that would ever happen is if if Iran's ability to project power into Israel is basically cooked. Iran has the ability now to shoot some drones at ships in the Straits of Hormuz. It does not have the ability to fire hypersonic missiles, which they never had, ever. I mean, this stuff like Iran is going to burn the world down with its huge missile arsenal. Do you know where the fucking people, where the fucking Iranian government is right now? Do you guys know where the Iranian government is right now? It's not there. Let's see. Where is it? Here's where the Iranian government is. You see this? You see that? Mashhad. Like, literally the most far eastern bumblefuck part of Iran. They're hiding in a bank vault in bumblefuck. This is like the U.S. government. The U.S. government decided to move to Twin Falls, Idaho. They've moved to Twin Falls, Idaho. No, they've moved to Yuma, Arizona. They moved to Yuma, Arizona. the U.S. government's in a bank in Yuma, Arizona, and they're going to destroy. You better watch out because they have full control of the country from Yuma, Arizona, 10 miles from the Mexican border. I swear to God, people are fucking retarded. They're really fucking retarded. And they're so cooked. Their brains are so cooked from all the Jew stuff. It's so crazy because it's like, you know, you can be somebody who's like, man, I'm so sick of the fucking so sick of the Israelis, so sick of like, you know, international Jewish financial conspiracy. And then you see these people. I'm almost like, is this a layered Jewish conspiracy to make me not, you know, maybe like love Jews? Because these anti-Semitic people are so fucking retarded. They're so retarded. You can't be associated with them. They're so stupid. Ian Carroll, like dumb as fuck. Jackson Hinkle, dumb as fuck. Everything they post, dumb as fuck. So this is where we're at. Now, this is the hard point here, right? So we're winning the war. Iran has, you know, oil prices were shooting up. They've stabilized. I think last I saw they were in the 80s. By the way, it doesn't matter for America. Everybody who's saying, well, Iran's going to close the Strait of Hormuz and it's going to destroy America, and America will not be able to recover, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's let Michael Gumarin explain this. Oil to Asia, helium to Asia, fertilizer to Asia, also goes to Europe. Trump wants to circle Chinese energy to make war with Taiwan expensive and AI expensive. Bring chip manufacturing back to the U.S. where helium is in critical supply chain node. Sell American agricultural products to the rest of the world, and you got to buy from someone. How does keeping the strait closed end with America losing again? It doesn't. All this stuff doesn't make any sense. You get people saying like, Iran's going to close the Strait of Hormuz. Oil is going to go to $200 a barrel. Okay, who's it going to hurt? It's going to hurt China. It's going to hurt Europe. It's not going to hurt America. Relatively speaking, certainly not. The Western Hemisphere, Europe, is supplied. It's supplied. We are a net oil exporter. And with Venezuela back online, even the type of oil that Iran supplies is mostly covered. So you close the Strait of Hormuz, you only hurt our rivals. That's why Trump's a genius. This is like, just stuff is like so annoying. It's like annoying to listen to. It's like people they're not even curious to understand this stuff. It's just slop repeated after slop, repeat after slop. So now Iran has said we are going to reopen the straits, but Israel and America can't go through it. Well, first off, tankers fly under different flags anyway, but again, we don't need the oil, and it's actually in our interest to have the oil flow to other countries because we don't want China to collapse. We don't want geopolitical economic uncertainty. We want to control China. We don't want to collapse China. Okay? We want to make sure that China can't mess with us. We want to make sure China can't go after Taiwan. They don't have the resources to. We want reciprocal deterrence on certain resources. We want to be able to control their economy. We don't want to strangle them. We just want to have our hand on their neck, preferably gently. We want to have our hand on their neck, though. That's what it is. Okay? So, and that's why Trump invited the Chinese to help patrol the Strait of Hormuz. So there's two things with this. China does it, then China looks like they support our operation. If they don't do it, they show that they can't protect their own oil supply. I mean, it's really like we're getting win-win after win, you know, we're win after win after win, the way everything's being framed. So it's not in Iran's interest to sink ships on a major basis, and it's very unlikely they're going to do it anyway because it will destroy anything left that they have in terms of the ability to maintain power at this point in time. I don't know what's going to happen, what the time frame is, but I think stuff is going to go, and there's two other things I want to talk about before I get to the big meat thing at the end. One other thing I want to talk about before we get to the meat, the very end with Tucker. So, side note, you notice that there were, since the attack against Iran, there was a couple of random terror attacks in the States. That guy from Sierra Leone at the military academy, which, by the way, our cadets beat the fuck out of and killed him. I think there was another one. I'm blanking on the details right now. But there was this Radio Free Europe, which is American. I don't know. I would have expected that this would be a cabal kind of operation. So take this with a grain of salt. But they were determining, there was this message that was being pinged on shortwave radio that was going out, and they nailed the corridor from Switzerland to Brussels. So basically Rhine Valley. Very interesting corridor, by the way. Very interesting corridor. And it was sending out this signal. It's impossible to decode because of the nature of it. This goes back to the Cold War, where they just send out different alphanumerics. Some agent somewhere has a code decoder. You can't break it. It's apparently one of those things you can't break the code. It's too difficult to break because it's nonsense to anybody who's overhearing it. So usually they try to cover it up. But what's interesting is that some people were speculating it could be an MKK Ultra thing. Could be a signal. I don't know. I do think that the arrests are coming, though. The arrests are coming related to the election, and Iran's connected to that. How long is it going to take for Iran's government to collapse? Who knows? We've heard that Khomeini's son, the new one in charge, we've heard he's been in a coma. We heard his leg got amputated. We've heard, we don't see him really. They had a cardboard cut out of him. So here's the thing that I'm going to get to, and this is a difficult topic about Tucker Carlson. So I've always liked Tucker. I always felt Tucker was a voice of truth crying out in the wilderness. I appreciate it a lot as a J6er. 2023, I had court dates set. His expose, which was not as big as we would have liked, right? From we understood, there was a, hearing, one of his episodes was cut by Fox. He was removed from Fox soon thereafter. He was the first one to really talk about January 6th, March 2023. It gave me a lot of hope that the truth would come out about what happened that day, what was behind it. Tucker also was, he was speaking out. He was speaking truth to power throughout all those years during the Biden administration. And it looked like he had suffered for it. I really enjoyed Tucker over the years. And, I like to think that some of these things, like it's ego, it's people not, going down rabbit holes, combination of these things, right? I think he's crossed some lines. He was crossing some lines recently. He's definitely crossing some lines. Trump invited him to the White House in January. So when you had all that entire crew who's going wild with the Charlie Kirk stuff, and by the way, I haven't talked about the Charlie Kirk stuff in a while. I'm not going to say that I'm like loving how Erica has behaved in some ways, but many ways, but I just, I've seen some things, like for instance, I know that Candace talked about Erica grooming this young girl, and then I saw, how she presented it, and then I looked into the details on that one specific situation, and I saw the messages, and I heard counter commentary, and it was obvious from the counter commentary that the accusations were bullshit. It was classic selective. first off, selective exposure of text messages, and also removing the context of the interaction of the dynamic between them. So like Erica meets this girl who's got all these issues, and Eric is being really encouraging of her, and the girl is the one who's kind of doing all this like weird like lesbian stuff, and Erica's like not actually really reciprocating. She's just being like polite because this girl, she knows this girl has major self-esteem issues, and she's trying to be encouraging and like, yeah, you're great. And I saw that and I'm like, you know what? That's enough. Like, I don't have to look into every single thing that's being presented, because all you really, obviously you could if you had the time and the energy, but all you really need is one really bad faith example to understand the acts that someone's grinding, where they're coming from. Okay. And so, but Tucker, I was trying to be like, you know what? Like, Tucker, you know, and then, he goes to Israel and they apprehend him for a period of time. And, we're all tired of Israel. So it's like, this stuff isn't hard to believe. It's sympathetic. And now we're hearing this, right? He starts to go really, really hardcore against Trump. Say some really, really nasty things, stuff that's not like loyal opposition anymore. It's like he crosses the line over. Trump invited him to the White House though in January, right? He was in the White House with Trump. And so now we're finding out that he was in contact with all these people in Iran. And criminal referral about him. And he goes out with this video, just posted, I think today or yesterday. I just saw it today. And Tucker, I'm sorry, this is my interpretation. Okay. I think Tucker looks extremely uncomfortable. I think he looks extremely uncomfortable. Okay. He looks very afraid. It reminded me of how Obama looked in a video he did a few months ago. Not a confident position, even though Tucker's talking about how I don't think anything's going to come from it. And, and I'm thinking about this and I'm like, you know what? If someone posted that Tucker was basically committing treason. He was a spy. He was acting as a spy, at least. Now, you could say, well, was he just being ignorant? Tucker's father was in the CIA. I mean, that's known, okay? So we have to let's take a step back for a second. Tucker's father was in the CIA. This is not official, but it's well known. He was a reporter who was everywhere. Tucker was in Afghanistan when he was like a teenager with his father. You know what I mean? Back in the 80s or something like that. He's got some roots in the intelligence community. And as they say, once you're in, you never get out. You're always connected in some way. So very interesting. That made me, the thing is, when I read it, what was hard for me about what I read, that Trump had used Tucker to mislead the Iranian government to basically wipe them out. Now, a lot of that's conjecture. We don't know that. We just know that they were wiped out. And we know that Tucker was with Trump and seemed to have influence with Trump. I think Tucker's son is in under JD Vance, right? JD Vance's office. Was this like a double spy operation? Was that what happened? Because I got to tell you, to me, it seems pretty plausible. And they're saying that, I'm going to read you guys something. So, Tucker announced today that the CIA is developing some kind of criminal referral or a crime report against him for violating FARA by failing to register as a foreign agent while conducting activities on behalf of foreign principal. Side note, I've heard a different charge, maybe more likely, but similar range of stuff. Tucker claims CIA tends to frame him based on his texts with highly informed Iranians inside Iran shortly before Operation Epic Fury began. Trump said the administration supposedly acquired by illegally spying on him. All right. Tucker does not explain what appears in those texts that the U.S. government considers to be evidence of a crime. Tucker does not identify these Iranians inside Iran, nor does he describe their roles or level of access. He does not justify his trusting of them as credible sources. How long has he been talking to them and relying upon them for forming his views and therefore creating content for his audience? Tucker does not explain why he's so shocked the U.S. government would scoop up an American's text with in-the-know Iranians inside Iran shortly before the war breaks out. Tucker blatantly lies by claiming that he has never taken money from anybody, and that's provable. He and Tucker Carlson Network raised $15 million from 1789 Capital, whose president is Omid Malik. Tucker reportedly then brought out the investors last year, blah, 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 saying that it's semantics, that it's an entity, not him personally. Tucker says the NSA spied on him in 2021 by intercepting his communications with a U.S. citizen, helping him to arrange an interview with Putin. Okay. Intercepting an American's communications with a legitimate foreign intelligence target is not tantamount to spying on that American in the way that Tucker knows his audience will envision as happening to him. Tucker claims he is not worried about purported criminal case being built against him, but he's laying out his defense against it right now. That's what I got out of this when I watched it. I didn't see this before I watched the video. I'm like, man, you look like you're trying to. They're probably not going to do anything. I didn't do anything wrong. Probably not going to do anything to me. But, they're spying on people. I say to myself, like, you were in contact with the Iranian government when we're going to war, and you're agitating against the war. I mean, if you're in contact with them, you're going to get spied on. You're being brought into the White House where you it is interesting. It's an interesting conjecture. Did Trump pretend Tucker was in the know and give Tucker information? Tucker tells Iran, the Iranian government gets blown up. This is what I'm trying to say. Like this is it. I mean, this is what I'm glad you're making this comment, because I have always felt that Tucker was a very sincere person. Because he is, I mean, I love Tucker. I really do. I really do enjoy him. Like, my wife and I, we would watch, like, we'd only watch Tucker when he's on Fox. We'd only watch him. Very reasonable, has legitimate regret, supporting of the previous wars. But this is the issue. This is the issue, right? I feel this way. I felt that way a little bit about Bannon. Bannon's with Epstein. I mean, man, like, unfortunately, when you view it through the lens that Tucker's in conversations in undermining national security by spreading Iranian propaganda and feeding information, it's not just Iranian propaganda, but actively acting as a vessel. Now, maybe him getting detained in Israel makes a little bit more sense, because maybe the Mossad was onto that. Things make a lot more sense than Jews hate me when you actually see some of the stacking up of some of these things. And I don't think that we're there yet. Let's find out. But I'll just say, I think he's in a difficult position right now. And I don't know. I think he's in a difficult position. It hurts me, though. The whole thing hurts me. But can you imagine? Like, I couldn't imagine that Bannon, like, these are people who are like frontline. Bannon spent a few years in prison, right? How deep are some of these agents? I'm going to say it again. Tucker, his family is an intelligence family. They are connected to the CIA. He is the son of a CIA agent. So, man, I don't even know. I don't know. What do we know? What do we know here? Look at this. The CIA spying on me. They admitted to reading my text messages. Who are you texting? Iranian regime personnel. You sure the CIA wasn't spying on the member of the designated terrorist organization you were texting? No way. They're trying to set me up. And they're just using that as an excuse to spy on me. So you weren't sharing communications with the designated enemy of the US. No, I was, but that's free speech. As long as you didn't give them any information that they would benefit their efforts against the US or spread any information to your audience at their request. Isn't that also free speech? No, that's treason. The thing is, this paints Tucker in an innocent light, but the problem is that Tucker, again, family of an intelligence asset, of an intelligence, he's an intelligence family, right? It's intelligence agency family. Tucker would know this. He's not some, retard random influencer. He's not that guy who's trying to point out American military facilities, who is equally indictable, much more obviously indictable under national security related treason kind of charges, but maybe he's a retard and doesn't know what's going on. Any complaints about Tucker and foreign influence coming from the Israel First crowd are just non-starters. Who cares what these people who themselves are foreign agents think or say about Tucker? Respectable attacking on Tucker has to come from genuine America First Americans. Otherwise, I just ignore them. What the fuck does this even mean? The fuck does that even mean? We're at war with Iran. Is that America First? I'm America First. So I'm going to give Iran intelligence. Iran should be able to have intelligence against America because I'm America First. Sound like a fucking retard. I don't like Israel. I don't like Israel. And, I think, and I don't have a lot of time to go into this today, but there is something about, I heard about Netanyahu. I think that it's true that Britain burned Israel as an asset with October 7th. But that's not what's really interesting. And the reason I say that is because if you tried to point out anything that the Jews were doing, you get fucked over immediately. After October 7th, though, you had accounts come up out of nowhere. Anything that was anti-Jew was out there being pushed everywhere. And the reason it's a good move is because so much of it was true, or at least directionally true. Now you see within a matter of 3 years, you can't even have a conversation. People will call you a goy. It's like, dude, man, I've been following this stuff for years. And now all of a sudden it's perfectly like now you can just, it's like the main opposition to Trump is that he loves Jews. Very interesting. It's very interesting timing for this stuff to come out. Netanyahu, if City of London is behind all this stuff fundamentally. So if Trump starts working with Israel, Israel cuts off intelligence sharing with the City of London. What it says to me, I don't know the details about this, and this doesn't mean that Netanyahu is a good guy. It doesn't mean that Israel's government is good. What it means is that there was some flip that happened. Netanyahu, and that doesn't mean that they're aligned with America's objectives. We had to pull Israel back. They wanted to bomb Iran's refineries. We had to stop them from doing that because Trump does not want to incapacitate Iran. Trump wants Iran to have a new government that's cooperative with, not with the cabal, basically. He doesn't want to completely castrate Iran's ability to function because you destroy the refineries and all the oil producing things. So there have been multiple indications throughout this entire time that Israel and America are working together against the foe, but America's not doing what Israel wants. And I would say on balance, Israel is constrained by America because remember when Netanyahu was talking about the West Bank, JD Vance was in Israel at that time. And he said, there's no way that Israel's allowed to take the West Bank. This is not the plan. So Netanyahu flipped, maybe for himself, because I'd say he flipped because October, he's always been with the cabal, and October 7th, he was going to lose his power in Israel. And then the October 7th thing happens. Netanyahu has, war government. He's in control. So I'll just close with this. We don't know what the story is with Netanyahu. He's not killed by an Iranian missile, though. I'll bet a lot on that. I'm not going to actually bet because I fucking do that anymore, but I doubt that. Makes no sense. However, is there something going on? Is there some internal political chaos in Israel? Possible. Very possible. And do I think Israel's a good actor? No. But I'm going to work with Israel for American interests. I'm America first. I'm not Israel last. And I'm going to make this last little quick statement here because, man, I was just talking to somebody about this earlier. Man, I got to see this right here. I want to use the actual term because that you guys were using. Oh man, I can't find that up here. But basically, here's the thing. There is a big. Oh, this is it right here. I understand how Tucker changed from reasonable critic of democratic political ideology and go into defender of the third world. It goes like this: you're pro-white, pro-Western civilization, and then that leads you to be anti-Jewish because you see Jewish subversion. And so then you start to think, okay, well, the Jews who else is an enemy of the Jews? Oh, it's, Muslims are enemies of the Jews. So then you become sympathetic to Muslims. You can go too far with this, where then if the Jews and any kind of Western government is aligned with them, that then you say that they're just supporting the Jews, right? It ends up becoming this thing where like you actually lose perspective. And that's the same trajectory that you see, Richard Spencer, Nick Fuentes, all these people go down where, they're like, we need a Nazi in government. And then they're like, support Kamala Harris. It's just like stupid shit like this. So anyway, I think it's basically all I got to say on this topic for now. We'll see what happens next week, but I don't think Tucker's gone down that far, but it's definitely a pipeline, and I've seen a lot of people go down it, and it's a way of manipulation too, to manipulate the audience, because you keep leading and pacing them to different positions so that all of a sudden you become the person who's like, free Palestine, and then you realize that everybody else who's free Palestine wants you dead. And you're like, why am I in this position? Oh, it's because I hate Jews. We all hate Jews. It's like, is that really where you want to be? And they got to think about these things a little bit more carefully. So anyway, guys, I love you. I'll see you on the next show. Take care.